Let's call that FBI raid on Michael Cohen's office and hotel room what it is, a big, fat, grandstanding move that was designed to embarrass him, to humiliate him, to intimidate him. Now, I want to make it clear. Of course, the FBI has a right to obtain documents, computer records, whatever, as part of a criminal investigation. This wasn't a break-in, as President Trump called it. The Bureau had to go to a federal judge with a search warrant and get approval to do that. But, that kind of, almost figuratively bursting down the door is usually done with hardened criminals. Cohen has been cooperating with the Bob Mueller investigation. He has turned over thousands of pages of documents. And so there was really no need for this. It's kind of a thing that's sometimes done in New York. When Rudy Giuliani was a U.S. attorney, I used to cover him when I was based here. He'd sometimes make a big showy arrest of suspected Wall Street white-collar criminals and do the perp walk thing just to kind of send a message. And that's what I think was going on here. Now, it wasn't Bob Mueller himself who ordered this grandstand tactic. Technically, he had kicked that part of the investigation over to the U.S. attorney here in Manhattan. But at the same time, apparently, there are reports that the U.S. attorney recused himself and that it was the Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein, who also got criticized by the president the other day, who authorized that raid. Now, as everyone knows, this is at least in part about the $130,000 payment to Stormy Daniels before the election. It was obviously hush money. Cohen says to me that he was trying to help his friend and client, protect him from embarrassment, whether the allegations were true or not, and not influence the campaign. There were reports in the New York Times and the Washington Post that he's under investigation for bank fraud, among other possible crimes. But it really rankled me the way in which this was done. But, it really sort of shocked a lot of people, but particularly the president. And then on his side, his reaction was so angry when he was sitting there. Remember, he's gathered the military leaders and national security officials to advise him on what to do, whether to strike Syria in retaliation for the chemical attack. And he's going off and he's calling this, likening it to an attack on our country. Well, however heavy-handed the tactics may have been, it wasn't an attack on our country. It was part of a criminal investigation lawfully authorized by his own Deputy Attorney General, who Trump appointed. And so when the president says witch hunt, okay, we've heard that before. When he says attack on our country, that's going too far. And then he openly talked about whether he should fire Robert Mueller, even as particularly Republicans are saying, please, please don't do this, Mr. President, the firestorm that would create. He said, well, a lot of people have advised me to do that. He's not happy with Jeff Sessions. He's not happy with Rosenstein. He's not happy with Mueller. And he's certainly not happy with his lawyer's office being the subject of this kind of dramatic raid. But this led to one of those banner headlines in the Drudge Report: presidency under siege. When you have the situation with Syria, when you have the president going off as he did, when you have his own lawyer being taken by surprise, blindsided by this search related to allegations by a porn star, and you have the president canceling his planned summit visit to South America, it does feel like a very supercharged atmosphere. So again, I was troubled by the tactics, but the Mueller investigation, Mueller or his designees in the FBI are acting with legal approval to do this. They may have evidence on Michael Cohen that we're not all aware of. But based on what we know, a payment that might turn out to involve some banking shenanigans that might be designed to shut up a potential witness against the president, witness not in the legal sense, but in the political sense at the end of the campaign, this still seemed like a really heavy-handed thing to do. And I think now that the president is really ticked off about this notion he's going to sit down with Robert Mueller, I think things are going to get a lot hotter on this front before they cool down.